A lost love rediscovered. Imagine walking down a busy street, only to come face to face with the person who once held your heart, now homeless and broken. This millionaire thought he had it all, but when he recognizes the woman on the street as the love of his childhood, his life is turned upside down. What happens next is a journey of love, redemption, and second chances that will touch your heart and remind you of the power of never giving up on the people who truly matter. You won't want to miss this incredible story of fate and the healing power of love. Ethan Donovan was a man who had everything. A self-made millionaire, he was known for his sharp business acumen, his lavish lifestyle, and his impeccable taste. Despite his wealth, something had always been missing. He often found himself gazing out of his penthouse window, lost in thought about the one person who had truly mattered to him, someone he hadn't seen in over 20 years. Her name was Emily. They had been inseparable as children, growing up in the small town of Willow Creek. Emily was Ethan's first love, and even as kids, they had promised to always be there for each other. But life had its own plans. Ethan's family moved away, and they lost touch. He threw himself into his education, his work, and eventually building an empire, but he never forgot her. One chilly evening in New York City, Ethan was walking home from a business meeting. He had chosen to walk instead of taking his usual car service, feeling the need for some air. As he strolled through the crowded streets, his eyes caught sight of a woman sitting against the wall of an old building, wrapped in a tattered blanket. Something about her seemed familiar, yet he couldn't place it. Her head was bowed, her face hidden beneath layers of dirt and despair. Feeling an inexplicable pull, Ethan approached her. He crouched down, offering her a few bills. "Here, take this. Get yourself something warm," he said softly. The woman looked up, and time seemed to freeze. Her eyes, those piercing blue eyes, were unmistakable. Ethan's heart pounded as recognition flooded his mind. It was Emily. But how could it be? The vibrant, beautiful girl from his childhood, now sitting before him, homeless and broken? Emily! His voice cracked as he said her name. Emily blinked, her gaze focusing on him. She gasped, clearly startled, and then recognition dawned in her eyes. "Ethan, is it really you?" He nodded, struggling to process the scene before him. "What happened to you? How did you end up here?" Tears welled up in her eyes as she struggled to hold them back. "It's a long story," she whispered. "Life didn't go the way I thought it would. After my parents passed, I fell into hard times. Lost my job, my home, and here I am." Ethan felt a surge of emotions: pain, anger, guilt. How could he have been living in luxury while the girl he once loved had been suffering on the streets? Without hesitation, he extended his hand. "Come with me, Emily. Let me help you." At first, she hesitated. Years of hardship had taught her not to trust easily. But there was something in Ethan's eyes, a sincerity that reassured her. Slowly, she took his hand, and with that single act, everything began to change. Ethan brought Emily to his penthouse, offering her a warm meal and a place to stay. As she sat by the fire, wrapped in a soft robe, the two of them talked for hours. Emily opened up about the struggle she had faced, from losing her job to falling into debt, to the moment she found herself with nowhere else to go. Ethan listened intently, feeling a deep sense of responsibility. He had the power to change her life, and he was determined to do so. But more than that, he realized that his feelings for Emily had never faded. She was still the same kind-hearted, strong woman he had fallen in love with all those years ago. Over the next few weeks, Ethan helped Emily rebuild her life. He connected her with professionals who could offer support and counseling, helped her find meaningful work, and gave her the space she needed to heal. But it wasn't just about material help. Ethan was there for her emotionally, too, rekindling the bond they had shared as children. As Emily began to regain her confidence, something beautiful started to blossom between them. The old feelings they had buried deep inside began to resurface. Their late-night conversations grew longer, their laughter more frequent, and soon they found themselves falling in love all over again. One evening, as they stood on Ethan's balcony overlooking the city, he turned to her with a soft smile. "I never stopped thinking about you, Emily. Even with all the success, there was always something missing. I didn't realize until now that it was you." Emily looked at him, tears of joy in her eyes. "I never thought I'd see you again, let alone be standing here with you. You saved me, Ethan." He shook his head gently. "No, you saved me. You've reminded me of what truly matters. It's not the money, the success, it's love, connection, and the people we care about." As the moonlight bathed them in a soft glow, Ethan took Emily's hand and pulled her close. "I lost you once, but I'm not going to lose you again. I don't care about the past. I just want to build a future with you, if you'll have me." Emily smiled through her tears. "I've loved you since we were kids. Of course, I'll have you." And so, two souls who had once been separated by the twists and turns of life were brought back together, not by chance, but by the power of love and redemption. Ethan had found the missing piece of his heart, and together, he and Emily began a new chapter, one filled with hope, love, and the promise of a future they would build together. As Ethan and Emily embarked on this new chapter of their lives, the bond between them deepened with each passing day. What had started as a rescue became a journey of rediscovery, of themselves, each other, and the dreams they had once shared as children. But this time, those dreams were not just wistful fantasies. They had the strength and resilience of two people who had faced the harshest realities and come out stronger. Ethan knew that the road ahead wouldn't always be easy. Emily had scars, emotional and physical, from the years she spent struggling on the streets. She had lost a lot, not just in material things, but in trust, hope, and confidence in the goodness of life. But with Ethan by her side, she began to believe in herself again. He encouraged her to pursue her passions, the ones she had long buried under the weight of survival. One day, as they sat in a cozy cafe near Central Park, Ethan asked her a question that had been on his mind. "Emily, what did you dream of becoming when we were kids? I remember you always loved painting." Emily smiled, a light returning to her eyes. "I did. I used to imagine myself as an artist, having my own studio one day. But that dream feels so distant now." Ethan reached across the table and took her hand. "It doesn't have to be distant. You can still be that artist. In fact, I believe in you more than ever. Let me help you make that dream come true." At first, Emily was hesitant. After everything she had been through, it was hard for her to see herself as someone who could thrive creatively. But with Ethan's encouragement, she slowly began to embrace the idea. He found her a small studio space in the city, and with his support, Emily began to paint again. Her hands, once cold and weathered from the streets, now brought vibrant colors to life on canvas. Each stroke was a step toward healing, each finished painting a symbol of the hope that had been reignited within her. She poured her emotions into her work, her pain, her struggles, her joy, and soon her art began to attract attention. What started as a small hobby blossomed into something much larger. Emily's paintings, rich with emotion and depth, spoke to people in ways she hadn't anticipated. Ethan was her biggest supporter, organizing a private exhibition to showcase her work. On the night of the gallery opening, as people from all over the city gathered to admire her art, Emily stood in awe. She had gone from being homeless and hopeless to standing in a room full of admirers, witnessing her dream come to life. Ethan stood by her side that night, pride evident in his eyes. "I told you," he whispered with a smile, You're meant for great things." Emily leaned into him, her heart full. "I wouldn't be here without you, Ethan. You gave me my life back." But Ethan shook his head, his expression soft. "No, Emily. You found your own way. I just helped you see what was always inside you." As the months went on, Emily's art career flourished. She was no longer the broken woman sitting on a street corner. She was a successful artist, living a life filled with purpose and love. And as she thrived, so did her relationship with Ethan. They were partners in every sense, supporting one another, celebrating each other's successes, and standing by each other in moments of doubt. One evening, as they sat together watching the sunset from Ethan's penthouse, Emily turned to him with a question she had been pondering for some time. "Ethan, why did you stop that night? Why did you come up to me on the street?" Ethan thought for a moment, his eyes reflecting the fading light. "I think, deep down, I always felt like something was missing in my life, no matter how successful I became. I didn't know it until that night, but what I was missing was you. When I saw you, something inside me knew I had to stop. I couldn't leave you there, not when I had the chance to help." Emily smiled softly, a tear escaping down her cheek. "It's amazing how life works. I thought I had lost everything, but in the end, I found the one thing that truly matters." Ethan looked at her, his heart full of love. "You've always mattered to me, Emily. From the moment we were kids, I knew you were special. And now, after everything we've been through, I'm more certain than ever." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Emily's breath caught in her throat as he opened it to reveal a simple yet elegant diamond ring. "I don't want to spend another day without you by my side. Will you marry me, Emily?" Tears welled up in her eyes as she nodded, unable to speak for a moment. "Yes, Ethan," she whispered, her voice full of emotion. "Yes, I will marry you." And so, beneath the glowing sky, with the city lights twinkling around them, Ethan and Emily sealed their love with a promise. A promise of forever, built not just on the wealth and success that surrounded them, but on the strength of a love that had survived the greatest of trials. Together, they had found what truly mattered: love, hope, and a future they would create hand in hand. As Ethan and Emily began to plan their future together, their lives became intertwined in every possible way. Emily's art career flourished, and her work began to be featured in prestigious galleries, capturing the hearts of art lovers across the country. She found joy in her creations, each piece a reflection of the journey she had walked, a journey from darkness into light. Ethan continued to support her in every way, not just as her partner but as the man who believed in her when she had lost faith in herself. The day of their wedding arrived, a sunny afternoon on the rooftop of Ethan's favorite hotel, with the skyline of New York City stretching out in the distance. Friends, family, and even some of the people who had been touched by Emily's art gathered to witness the union of two souls who had found their way back to each other. The setting was elegant but understated, just as they had wanted, a reflection of their love, not their wealth. As Emily walked down the aisle in her simple, yet stunning dress, Ethan's heart swelled with emotion. She was radiant, her beauty deeper than anything physical. It was the beauty of a heart that had been healed, a soul that had been restored. The memories of the day he found her on the street, broken and lost, flashed before his eyes, and he marveled at how far they had come. What could have been the end of her story was, in fact, just the beginning. Emily, too, was overwhelmed with emotion as she made her way toward Ethan. He had given her more than a home, more than financial stability. He had given her love, hope, and the belief that she could rebuild her life. She had never thought she would find herself here, marrying the boy who had been her first love, after so many years of separation and hardship. But here she was, stronger than she had ever imagined, standing at the threshold of a new life. The ceremony was intimate and heartfelt. As they exchanged vows, There was not a dry eye in the room. Ethan's voice trembled with emotion as he spoke. "Emily, from the moment we were kids, you held a place in my heart that no one else could fill. When I found you again, I knew I had been given a second chance, not just at love, but at life. You are my heart, my inspiration, my home. I vow to love you, honor you, and walk beside you for the rest of my days." Emily's voice, steady yet filled with emotion, followed. "Ethan, you saved me when I was lost. You believed in me when I couldn't believe in myself. You've shown me what true love is, and I promise to love you with all that I am. Through every trial, every joy, I will stand by your side, grateful for the love that has brought us together again." As the officiant pronounced them husband and wife, the guests erupted in applause, but for Ethan and Emily, it felt like the world had gone quiet. In that moment, it was just the two of them, wrapped in the love they had rekindled after so many years apart. The reception that followed was filled with laughter, joy, and celebration. Emily's paintings were displayed throughout the venue, a testament to her resilience and the power of love to transform even the darkest of times. Guests mingled, danced, and toasted to the couple's happiness, but as the evening wore on, Ethan and Emily found a quiet moment alone on the balcony, just as they had the night he proposed. The city lights twinkled below them, but all they could see was each other. Ethan wrapped his arms around Emily, pulling her close. "We've been through so much," he whispered, "but I wouldn't change a single thing because it led us here." Emily smiled, resting her head against his chest. "I feel like we've come full circle. But this time, it's better than I ever dreamed. We're not just two kids in love anymore. We're stronger, wiser. We know what it means to fight for each other, and I wouldn't trade that for anything." As they stood there in silence, soaking in the beauty of their moment, a sense of peace washed over them. The future stretched out before them, unknown, but filled with promise. They had already overcome so much, and together, they knew they could face anything. "I love you, Emily," Ethan said softly, pressing a kiss to her forehead. "I love you too, Ethan," she replied, looking up at him with a smile. "And I always will." And so, their story continued, not as a tale of wealth or success, but as a testament to the power of love, hope, and the strength found in the darkest of times. They had found each other again when the world seemed intent on keeping them apart, and now, with hearts intertwined and lives forever changed, they faced the future hand in hand, ready for whatever came next. It wasn't just a happy ending. It was a new beginning, one built on a foundation stronger than money or status. It was built on love, the kind that never fades, never gives up, and never stops believing in second chances.